Hi, I'm Lizzy Friedman, this is Inside Ambition, and you're on 34th and Art, the place where we talk all things arts and entertainment in and around Drexel University. This week, we're taking a look at a new theatrical production, Sin Eaters. At first glance, it sounds like a play that would be about the late-night munchies, just people gobbling handfuls of gummy worms and Cheez-Its on stage. But no, it is much different from that. The play is a fully virtual theatrical production by Theatre Exile, a South Philly-based theater company that has produced countless of amazing productions. Theatre Exile dedicates itself to engaging in challenging plays focused on the complexities of the human condition and providing a safe, creative environment for local artists to share their voices. Theatre Exile describes Sin Eaters as towing the lines between satire and harsh reality. Sin Eaters is a hilarious, poignant, and brutal examination of the human experience and how the daily toil of life transforms our perception of ourselves and those around us. The story follows Mary, a content moderator, one of the unseen people who scrub our social media feeds of violent, sexual, and other disturbing images. A job I would personally hate. Like H8. Get it? Because, the internet. As she goes deeper into the recesses of the internet, Mary finds a graphic video that makes her question her relationships, her sanity, and her own capacity for violence. Mary, I am with ya. There are some things on my Twitter feed that I wish I could unsee. We also need one of those content moderators for Snapchat. You know what I mean. I'm so honored to be able to talk to the actors of Sin Eaters today. Please welcome B. Jean and David M. Raine. Thanks so much for being here with me today, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, and congratulations on the opening and previews and the whole show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's so exciting to be able to create something in the time of COVID from home.
From home. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I'm feeling that with this. It's it's such a weird experience, but it's just so great to be able to do it at all.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like if we were in a Philadelphia theater, it would be very localized. It would be Philadelphians, maybe Delaware, maybe New York. But when you're doing things online, it's instantly worldwide. So it's an amazing, this preview, right now we're in preview week. This is the second night of previews. Anyone in the world can watch it. It's pretty wild. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not just Philadelphia. So it actually, being home and in quarantine has actually expanded your reach as an artist,
Yeah, totally. And that's so interesting to see. I definitely want to see, after all of this is over, to see how we kind of, the whole theater industry kind of goes about streaming and how we keep being able to have theater so accessible to everyone all around.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that the other day. I love live theater and I can't wait to get back in a room full of people to perform a show and actually physically breathe with an audience. But also I hope every theater maintains a digital component so that people who don't normally have access to theater can watch what we're doing or engage with theater companies somehow,
And under-acknowledged artists. So artists that necessarily wouldn't even get the ear of a theater producer can actually put on a show. And if there were theaters that were putting aside a certain amount of revenue or even space on their site to be sort of facilitators.
So it's exciting to think about this is actually a cultural shift, that might expand what we do as theater artists and not limit what we do.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
To keep that, as an ongoing thing.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I can't wait to see what we kind of do with that once things kind of open back up again and we kind of get to this new normal that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So that goes a little into my question of kind of what this process has been like for you guys doing this kind of virtual show.
It's so awesome to be able to create work with each other, in the space where we call home. But also it's crazy. Right now we have a neighbor. I don't know if you could hear it, but there was just a buzzsaw that just went off
But here's what's funny. Dead silence until we scheduled the shooting of the play. Like nothing. Yeah. And actually, she didn't even warn us. We warned them because there's some yelling and there's some language in the show. So we sent letters to the houses on either side of us and said, hey, if you hear us,
we're rehearsing a play, we'll be running the play, and then, we'll be capturing the play to be digitally streamed.
Yeah.
So it won't go on forever, but these are the dates,
So we sent one to the neighbor here, and they were like, oh, great, thanks for warning us. And like 2 days later, and we're like, good. It's like, wait, did you have something to warn us about?
But it is, it's so crazy because this play goes into like dark territory. Yeah. It's got mature themes and mature content and mature language. So a huge thing for us as significant others and as artists was talking through, okay, if we do this play, what are the boundaries we have to set for ourselves? Yeah. And how do we take care of ourselves and each other in this process? And it's been an ongoing conversation because there are nights where we turn to each other after rehearsal, and David's really good at this. He'll be like, hey, let's shake it off, and we'll pour a glass of wine. We make sure we have a sip. We make sure we give each other a kiss and a hug. Yeah. And we're like, okay, do you want to check in? Were you angry about something as character, or were you angry about something in the process?
Right.
So in some ways, I think, it's made us a better couple having to go through this, having to work through this play. Things weren't always rosy. There were moments or days when we were like,
because the energy is there,
Yeah. And you have to live in that space too. I wanted to also ask how you kind of separate your performance space from your living space.
Yeah, well, we quite literally did. Our entire basement is not the entire basement, but a section of the basement is the set. So we can literally come upstairs, close the door, and be in our apartment space. And, it is literally separate.
But also I'll show, let me turn the camera and I'll show you. There's a props table here. Full of,
And that's our kitchen table. So we haven't eaten at the kitchen table for weeks.
So I think creating the physical boundary of the basement as set was smart, but also having daily check-ins about emotional boundaries was even better.
Yeah. That sounds so important. And now kind of getting into the crux of the show, in this age of technology with the themes of this show, what are you kind of hoping that audiences kind of get out of this at the end of the day?
Oh, I hope with this show and also what's playing out in our society right now, that everyone questions what they read and see online. That I think
critical thinking.
Yeah, I think this play addresses that phenomenon that happens when we spend so much time engaged in social media or so much time going down a specific wormhole. It's really easy to kind of be brainwashed by whatever track that you're looking at constantly, whether it's celebrity gossip or fashion tricks or political stuff. And I think this play really pokes at the need to question what you see and to check in with real life humans and not just be locked into the digital medium,
To piggyback on that, the idea of communication again. So for instance, her character can't communicate because there's actually an NDA with her job.
Right.
But so she can't come home and say, I just saw some Scrooge, this crazy stuff and it's really freaking me out. So there's the secondhand trauma that he receives because he's just watching the relationship go down the tubes and there's no answers. And it's why are you acting like this? Why'd you just say that to me? What, and she can't answer, but she's starting more and more to believe what she's seeing. And then it gets crazy. So, I think the idea is it's critical thinking. And I hope that my hope is that people come out with a sense of, I need to see things and understand things for myself and not just take it off the face of my phone.
Right.
Do my research, decide on my own whether something is a certain way.
Yeah. I think that's definitely very important. Like knowing what you're looking at, if it's reliable, if it's vetted, you know, yeah, especially with everything that has happened in our nation over the past 4 years. I think that's very important. Yeah. And that also kind of goes into content moderation and like how this show and the story has shaped your views on current, like present day content moderation.
I mean, I think it taught us a lot because we researched too, because, you know, I didn't know exactly who content moderators were because they're not allowed to talk about it. And we found some articles that actually talked about how difficult the job is. I mean, it is a 9 to 5. So you're sitting there in front of a screen for 8 hours, just inundated with this imagery that can be violent or sexual or whatever in nature. And rapidly having to go through all these images to assess whether or not they're appropriate for publication or for, you know, whatever
public consumption. Well, it's crazy that first of all, you would expect it to be a person that had certain qualifications. These people, there's no psychological training. There's nothing. They're literally people that didn't have another choice of a job, almost like that. And they're just like, oh, it pays this amount an hour. Okay, I'll do it. And these are the kind of people who are looking at these things. They're not prepared for this stuff. They're not mentally prepared, emotionally prepared, psychologically prepared to look at a murder, look at some violence, you know, like
they're often really young.
Yeah.
They're often really young because
like right out of school.
We think like, you know, the public, we think they're people working for like the big companies like Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
In fact, those companies outsource to different companies around the country who pay, you know, maybe minimum wage, maybe a little more. And they hire recent grads, people with very little job experience to like sit there and just click through.
Yeah.
And so, you know, these are very usually young people who are asked to just suddenly be inundated with this imagery and content and have to quickly process it.
Yeah.
And not get taken care of. But the play, there are moments of like, some of it's funny too. I mean, I think
that's good.
in some ways, like it's a dark comedy at the time. I think in order to absorb.
Yeah, there's comedic release.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that also comedy allows for people to understand these kind of like big things a little bit more and like realize why they are wrong. It's like, maybe I shouldn't be laughing at this. I think that's a good use of the dark comedy aspect. And that is absolutely insane, that whole job. I would not be able to do that. I mean, I sit in my classes on Zoom for the whole day and like my eyes feel like they're bleeding just from like watching the screen all day. I can't even imagine watching horrible things and having to like have that be your day every single day.
Yeah. And you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
You can't like have a beer and say, check this out and get it out. You know, you can't. It's just like, you just have to, it's like zip, you know?
Wow. Yeah. That's really crazy to think about. Cause like these are real people. They have lives outside of that cubicle and people that they go see and family and loved ones. And how does that affect their relationships? So I think that's really also crucial to think about. And like that's what your show is bringing out to the public, which is really interesting. And we don't think about this. Like I've never thought about that job ever until I went into researching your production. And I don't think anyone is really thinking about that job. And also with this new kind of view of essential workers that we have. Yeah, that's, I mean, like every, you know, you can kind of make a claim that every single job in this world is essential. And I think that content moderators definitely also fall into that category because, you know, I see things on the internet that I wish I didn't, even with these people that have these jobs. So it's like, imagine all these things that we're not seeing. It's like, it's very thankless.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like the thanklessness of it and just these people aren't paid enough.
Yeah.
They aren't counseled enough. And then they have to absorb it. You know, I think about like how many people take home the trauma of whatever workplace they are and take it out on their partners or take it out on their children or, you know, like that's a very real thing that that I think this play addresses.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, that's what I love about theater, is that we bring out these social issues and problems that people don't think about very often. And we kind of let people kind of see them in a more understandable way, and kind of put people behind that and be able to maybe hopefully fix the problem or act a little bit better upon it. So I think it's great that you guys are sharing this story with the world. And yeah, just kind of to wrap this all up, my final question for you guys: what is your favorite things about being Philly theater artists?
I guess my favorite thing about being a Philly theater artist is that it's really a tight ecosystem, there's such support between theater companies in this community and between artists. There's relationship building here where I think, people start developing projects together with great intention as to who's involved.
My favorite thing about Philly theater is newly learned. Since the pandemic, I've been impressed of the tenacity of Philly theater. They're like, we are not laying down, pandemic or not. We're putting on a cabaret. We're putting on a show. We're doing this. We're doing that. And I'm like, okay, Philly, that's all, this is really cool. So I have a lot of respect for that, and as well as appreciating the chance to work with my love. And
I know
it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on 34th and Art with me today and answering some of our questions. I am so excited to see your production, and I wish you all the best with everything. I guess that's all. Thanks.
Thank you,
Lizzy.
Best to you too.
As you can see, Sin Eaters is truly a captivating show that will leave you questioning our technology, real Black Mirror style. Be sure to check out the production, directed by Matt Pfeiffer and written by Anna Monch. Sin Eaters opens on February 17th, starring B. Jean Yo and David M. Raine, and runs through February 28th. The show runs approximately 75 minutes, the average length of your normal Netflix binge. Tickets are only $25, perfect for college students aching for more theater content without breaking the bank. Thank you so much for joining me here today on 34th and Art. Be sure to follow Inside Ambition on Instagram at inside_ambition and subscribe to us right here on YouTube for all the latest. See you next time right here at the same address. Bye!
Hey Dragons, it's Paige here with your weekly Thunder Index, where we discuss all things science, storms, stars, and sustainability. Per usual, let's head into this next week of weather. Say goodbye to your snow people, as we will have quite a few rain showers that will wash away all the snow this upcoming week. As for the temperature, it will still remain pretty cold, with the low of the week reaching 24 degrees and the high reaching 48 degrees. We are almost through the coldest months, but not quite there yet, Dragons, so hang in there and bundle up. Now, moving up in the sky and into the stars, let's recap on the last week of astrology and what it means for you. This week, however, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. As some of you may know, last Friday, February 12th, was the beginning of the Chinese New Year. So, this week we're going to be checking in on Chinese astrology. This year, the year 4719, is the year of the Oxen. People born under this Chinese zodiac sign are self-confident, know their life goals, and exhibit a quiet confidence. They are powerful, balanced, and tenacious. These signs have the power to maintain energy and persevere through challenging and difficult times. These are some attributes that we definitely need coming off of the year 2020. These people tend to be disciplined in life, faithful in love, committed to their family, as well as committed to giving their children an education. The Oxen is also very jealous, possessive, and territorial. Their inner core is loyal and honest, so their opinions tend to be respectful and conservative. You typically won't find these people in the center of attention or seeking praise. Oxen make trustworthy business professionals due to their agility, But they typically do not have flexibility, which is an important distinction. Things like peace of mind and productivity matter more to them than speed. Therefore, they are natural entrepreneurs and find themselves thriving off of success in several different situations. Intelligent, logical, and reliable, Oxen believe that people should do what is asked of them. Since this year, 4719, is the year of the Oxen, if you were born in a year that is a multiple of 12 away from this year, then you too are an Oxen. But to make it easier for you, we're listing them right here. So if you or people you know were born in any of these years, then they or you are an Oxen. And don't feel left out if you haven't done your New Year celebrating yet. Chinese New Year is celebrated for 16 days, so you have until February 26th to get all of your spring rolls deep fried. Heading back down to earth and onto Drexel's campus, let's take a look at last week's COVID numbers. During the week of February 1st, Drexel performed 2,400 tests with only 18 coming back as positive. That leaves us with an astounding 0.8% positive test on campus. Compared to previous weeks, these numbers are super low, but considering that on Monday and Tuesday of this week, the weather disrupted Drexel's testing centers. However, that does not change the fact that the university is reporting record low numbers of positive cases, so keep wearing those masks, dragons. Speaking of low COVID numbers, Philadelphia and surrounding areas such as the Main Line and New Jersey have experienced a decrease in the number of positive cases in the last few weeks. Because of this, Philadelphia has lightened some of the restrictions on activities such as indoor dining. As of last Friday, Philadelphia restaurants can now expand their indoor dining capacity to 50%. The one condition, however, is that the ventilation system must allow enough air to circulate. Restaurant owners are required to self-certify that their air is meeting the quality standard. This includes replacing the room's air at least 15 times during 1 hour. One thing to note is that a restaurant does not have to have a heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system, also known as an HVAC system, to qualify for this restriction lift. If they do not have this system, they must put fans in every window in a room. Restaurants will also be provided clear guidance on how to implement these air purifiers in the most guaranteed and effective way. I would start booking your reservations as indoor and outdoor dining is about to sell out fast. Don't get me wrong, I love a nice indoor dinner, but personally, I would choose the outdoor, heated lamp, Philly streets style atmosphere dining over indoor dining any day. I would love to know what you watching this would prefer. Sound off in the comments below, indoor or outdoor dining. I will be keeping my reservation outside for sure. With that being said, as restrictions are being lightened, that does not mean the severity of this pandemic is. As always, dragons, wear a mask, social distance, and stay home when you can. Eating out is a luxury and not a necessity. Coming out of Valentine's Day weekend, let's continue the theme of love with Paige's plant of the week. Let's take a look at the oxalis, also known as the love plant. It has 3 purple heart-shaped leaves, which each have 3 sides that sit symmetrically to each other at the end of every stem. The overall effect is that they look like a trio of butterflies joined together by their noses. Other species are similar in shape like clovers, but their leaves tend to be green. Just like love itself, this plant is also a little bit magic. The main reason for this claim is that the oxalis can literally revive itself from the dead. Rather than being intrinsically linked with the soil like many other plants, oxalis is linked to the soil by its tiny bulbs. Forget to water it, or the temperatures drop too low, or the living conditions are just generally not well kept. Everything above the surface will wilt and die to take refuge back into the bowls below the soil. The magic kicks in, where as soon as good conditions are restored, the plant magically comes back to life incredibly quickly. This is great for those little accidents where we might forget to water our houseplants for several months at a time. However, not so good for people who live in temperate regions of the world where this plant can be viewed as a weed. But the oxalis still makes a great, sustainable, and aesthetic addition to any household. And that is all of the science, storms, stars, and sustainability that I have for you this week. But before I go, are you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? Double check before you click away, and don't forget to press the notification bell so that you don't miss any of Inside Ambition's posts. It is always thundering in Philadelphia. Thanks for watching, Dragons, and I'll see you next week.
Welcome back to the DAC Recap, the show where we recap all things Drexel and Philadelphia sports. As always, I'm your host, Luciano Duffy. Now, let's jump right into it. Tipping off from the DAC, it was the girls' basketball team that had a doubleheader with the Fighting Blue Hens of Delaware last weekend. On Friday, they traveled down to Bob Carpenter Center for what was their first matchup with the first team in the CAA conference. Senior guard Hannah Nihel had a career night as she scored 13 of Drexel's 26 first-half points. Drexel was down as much as 17 points in the second quarter. However, they were able to bring the game within just 4 points in the fourth quarter. Nihel ended the game with a career-high 32 points, but even that wasn't enough as the Dragons fell 68-60. On Sunday, the Dragons returned home as they played their homecoming and senior day game, all on Valentine's Day. Before the game, seniors Hannah Nihel and Kayla Bacon were recognized with their respective families in the stands. It was a back-and-forth game in the DAC, with both teams going on their own respective 7-0 runs. Ultimately, though, it was the Blue Hens who came out on top once again, this time with a 66-55 victory over your Drexel Dragons. This upcoming weekend, the Dragons will be traveling and playing the Tigers of Townsend. Both teams sit at 6 wins and are hungry to create some separation at the top of the standings. The Drexel wrestling team was the only other Drexel sport to have games this week, as they traveled to George Mason and then Ryder last Wednesday and Thursday. At George Mason, the Dragons kept their momentum from their first win and ended up beating the Patriots 20-12. It was freshman Luke Nichter who had a technical fall win over George Mason's Dustin Morgillo. In what was the last game of Drexel's very short season, they fell 16-20 to the Broncos of Ryder. It was freshman Nichter once again who got the Dragons going, this time notching the first win for the Dragons with his 10-4 decision victory over Ryan's Wyatt MacArthur. The Dragons finished their regular season at 2-1 and will quickly shift their focus to the postseason. The EIWA Championships are right around the corner on February 26th. The Drexel's men's basketball team were unable to play games last weekend due to COVID complications. And as for their games this weekend for Townsend, those too have been postponed due to the coronavirus. You know what other team had to rest because of COVID last week? That's right, Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers. Currently, as of Valentine's Day, 7 players remain on the COVID-19 protocol list. Those being Claude Giroux, Oscar Lindblau, Travis Sanheim, Justin Braun, Scott Lofton, Morgan Frost, and Jacob Voracek. The Flyers have held on to first place, well, because they haven't played any games. This could all change by the end of the week, however, with the NHL saying that tonight's matchup with the Rangers and Sunday's outdoor game versus the Bruins, quote, remain on. The Flyers were able to get back to an organized practice of just 16 available players this past Tuesday. The depleted squad will have to be ready to embrace the next man up mentality and prepare themselves for less in-game rest as the NHL pushes for their games to be played. As love was in the air this past weekend, Gritty took to Twitter to remind us all the importance of self-love. His 45-second video includes rose petals and candles scattered across the room, his nude portrait up on the mantle, and Gritty with his feet up on the couch. He followed his Valentine's Day video up with a lengthy thread on Tuesday. This thread detailed his need for a vacation for some more self-love time. Don't worry though, Gritty has been safe and been tested before traveling. Per Gritty himself, he is COVID negative, his sit and reach sits at 11 inches, which is below average, and his scoliosis test, well, that came back inconclusive. Safe travels to Gritty as he leaves tomorrow. I hope your trip is better than the 76ers trip out west. Speaking of those Sixers, man, was that West trip tough. After winning their first game against the Sacramento Kings, they lost their next two against Portland and then Phoenix. These two losses were definitely not due to a drop of production by Joel Embiid. He has continued his dominant season and dropped 35 apiece in both of those games. Unfortunately, though, he did not play on Monday night's showdown against the lead-leading Utah Jazz as he was out due to back tightness. While at the end of the game, they still did lose, credit was given to Embiid's partner in crime, Ben Simmons, who had a career night with Joel out on the sidelines. Simmons had a career-high 42 points, including 19 of them in the first quarter alone. He almost put up a triple-double as he grabbed 9 boards and dished out 12 assists to go along with his scoring performance. Another co-star, Tobias Harris, also had a great night, dropping 36 himself. Now, the Sixers head back to the East Coast as they take on the Houston Rockets and the Chicago Bulls at the Wells Fargo next week. In the world of the Eagles, they are currently in the trading stage of the offseason. And this trading season, the Eagles are starting off as sellers. First to hit the market was quarterback Carson Wentz, but the Eagles are not loving the offers that they are receiving. They will, quote, hold out until they get the offer that they want. This past week, they've also started fielding calls for tight end Zach Ertz. The two teams that have instantly shown interest in Ertz are the Seahawks and, big surprise, the Colts. The Eagles could potentially package Ertz and Wentz and send them to Indianapolis, or bundle Ertz with a young offensive tackle Andre Dillard and ship them off to Seattle. This could potentially solve 2 cap problems with 1 trade for the Eagles. Pitchers and catchers have officially started reporting in baseball's first on-the-field action since the World Series. But right before the Phillies hit the road, they made sure to bring Brad Miller along with the team. A clubhouse hero in 2019, he fills a bunch of small roles for the Phils. He will instantly become Girardi's go-to option during pinch hit situations and will be a helpful hand in the field with his versatility to play multiple spots around the diamond. That's all for the DAC Recap. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Tune in next week for yet another recap.
Hey there, Dragons, and welcome back to Drexel Update on Inside Ambition. My name is Eva, and today I'm here with Megan Wickersham, captain of the Drexel dance team. But before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below, and hit the post notification bell to make sure you stay up to date on our content. So, how are you, Megan?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. So just to get rolling, why don't you introduce yourself as who you are outside the dance team? So as a Drexel student.
Yeah, perfect. I am a 4th year in the 5-year program mechanical engineering student with a concentration in aerospace and a minor in business administration.
So I love to see that cross interdisciplinary work here at Drexel. And so what's your role on the dance team?
I am currently captain of the dance team, which is really exciting for the year, being elected by, your peers and your teammates is quite an honor.
That's amazing. And so I know things must be super different this year in a pandemic world, but pre-pandemic world, what's the role of Drexel's dance team on campus? Like, what kind of events do you do?
Yeah, pre-pandemic world, it's pretty fun. We participate in all of the men's and women's basketball games that are home, and we travel with them every year to tournament. Other than that, you can see us on campus at different events like the homecoming bonfires and stuff, really just promoting school spirit and trying to get the word out about different basketball events.
Is there any type of training involved outside the dance team to stay up to date on your skills?
No, currently we don't have to do anything outside of team practices, but we like to incorporate a lot of the basics of dance and technique into our practices when we can, when we're not prepping for game days and doing a lot of stuff for that.
Nice. So, of course, now we'll transition to maybe more current times. How have things been? What's the dance team up to now?
Yeah, it's kind of been crazy. We've been doing practice over Zoom, which is such an adjustment for dance. If you can see, I don't have the largest room, so it's been different for girls to try to figure out what space they can use and how they can utilize their space to the best of their ability. So everyone's been having fun with like the different challenge that it's brought, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. So I know things are a little bit strange, but do you guys have anything fun planned for right now or in the following term?
Currently, we don't have anything marked on our calendars as we're definitely being able to do something, which is a little unfortunate, but we've been getting a lot of word from the athletic department and the athletic director. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to participate in some spring sports, which is actually completely new to our team. It's something we've never done before, which I honestly am really excited for. I think it'll be really different and exciting and the opportunity to learn something new. And at least all of the girls I know, we at least just want to be able to get together one more time this season and dance together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that. So what terms of the Drexel calendar do you guys actually meet as a team?
Fall and winter. We mainly meet in fall just for practices and prepping for game day. And then basketball season kind of starts with non-conference around October, end of October, beginning of November. So from then on till March, we're game days pretty much every week, every weekend, and practice still every week.
Oh, great. And it seems like your team has a great community. You guys can check them out at Drexel Dance Team on Instagram. But what is your like top favorite dance team memory or event?
Oh, that's such a good one. I feel like there's been so much over the 4 years besides the pandemic that I feel like we have, like, as you said, a really great team community and our girls get along really well that we'll do a lot outside of just like team stuff. But traveling my freshman year to tournament in South Carolina, it's like a 12-hour bus ride. I don't think I've bonded with girls more than that, 12 hours hanging out, and it was so fun.
Wow, so you guys go really far. So what's the farthest place you travel with the team?
That 1 year, South Carolina to the men's tournament. Previously, we've done the women's tournament in Delaware, and last year we did the men's tournament as well.
That sounds like so much fun. So you are more of an athletics expert than I am. I am no way at all know about any of that. So what is your best tips and tricks to stay active and healthy during this pandemic time?
Yeah, so honestly, as a team, we've really been able to utilize Zoom, which I know all Drexel students have access to. So it's really fun you can get on there and just maybe YouTube a workout, share your screen, and maybe build a community up that you can work out together. It's more fun to work out together than it is alone. So that could be a good tip to get started.
That is a great tip. Share your exercise misery with other people.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Megan. That's all I have for you today, Dragons. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at inside_ambition and like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.
Happy Friday, Dragons, and welcome back to Inside Ambition. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of The Main Report, the weekly news rewind so that you don't get left behind. I'm Gabrielle Remo. And before I get into the news, do not forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel and to follow us on Instagram at inside_ambition. Stay connected with our show. You will not regret it. This week's episode is going to be a roller coaster. We're going to talk about the GOP reject, Marjorie Greene, Trump's second impeachment trial, a South Philly native photographer for Billie Eilish, and last but not least, radishes that send text. Wait. Sea cucumber that uses Google Chrome. It's something about a vegetable with autonomy. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Trump's second impeachment trial was set in motion on February 9th, ending with the decision to proceed with the case with a 56-44 vote. This decision was led by detailed documentation of circumstances leading to the insurrection at the Capitol in January. And while the decision is made, the forefront of the counterarguments was this: was impeachment after office constitutional? Critics to this impeachment also brought up the question, what is stopping us from impeaching any president after their terms end? However, after coming to the Senate floor, Trump was acquitted in his impeachment trial despite 7 GOP senators voting with Democrats to convict. And this decision, by far, was the most bipartisan support for conviction in impeachment history. The final vote was 57-43, but 67 votes were needed to secure Trump's conviction. And while 7 GOP senators voted against Trump, citing that he played a significant role in the Capitol riot, all eyes were on Senator Mitch McConnell. Shock. McConnell came for Trump, blaming him for his, quote, disgraceful dereliction of duty. He endorsed many of the arguments made by the House impeachment managers, but despite this, he voted not guilty anyways. Overall, former President Trump stated post-acquittal, this has been yet another phase of the greatest witch hunt in the history of our country. No president has ever gone through anything like this. And that was virtually the end of that. Speaking of Republicans being voted out, on February 4th, GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was voted out of 2 House committees after pushing to the surface controversial statements prior to her election, not to mention some Islamophobic and anti-Semitic comments. Now, let's talk QAnon, not to be confused with Qdoba, which is very much inferior to Chipotle. I said it. QAnon is a broad set of conspiracy theories first emerging in 2017, where Subject Q claimed to be an intelligence operative with critical information. These claims range from 9/11 conspiracies to child trafficking. And in the past, Marjorie Greene has shown support for QAnon, referring to it as, quote, refreshing and an objective flow of information. Although Representative Greene has publicly announced regret for these past promotions, the push by Democrats in the House to have Greene released for these actions has the unanticipated support of Mitch McConnell, calling her rhetoric not only loony lies, but a cancer to the GOP as a whole. But let's lighten up with some cool Philadelphia news. One that involves bad guy William Eyelash. A Philadelphia native made history this week after his Billie Eilish photo shoot made Vanity Fair's lead photo. Quill Lemons, a 23-year-old native to South Philadelphia, made history as the youngest photographer to ever shoot a Vanity Fair front cover. This is not his first rodeo, although, as his resume is stacked. Lemons has shot Chloe and Holly for Vanity Fair, has been featured in Variety, GQ, Teen Vogue, and The Fader, and Billie Eilish has invited him back to shoot her again. Boy, oh boy, we would not stand a chance if Lemons was in the Drexel co-op system. Lemons describes his work as a distinct visual language that interrogates ideas around masculinity, family, queerness, race, and beauty. Overall, Quill Lemons expressed hope in being an inspiration to younger artists of color, and that's an amazing thing to bring to this world. Lemons moved to New York City to attend the notorious New School, and since then has been living in Brooklyn. From Philly to New York to the world, he is making awesome strides and making Philadelphia proud. Go Quill Lemons. And lastly, in awesome science news, scientists at MIT have found a way to make ordinary spinach do some extraordinary things. New nanotechnology developments have allowed chemical receptors in spinach to send emails. I know, really strange, right? Scientists discovered that the roots of spinach plants have nitroaromatic receptors, which allow the plants to detect atmospheric changes. This would make these spinach plants be able to detect high levels of pollution or biohazards such as bombs or chemical weapons. The way that this is being used is that when the plants detect changes, they will emit an infrared signal, which will process into an email being sent out as a notification. This can be used to combat climate change and work as security protection against biohazard threats. My only question is, what's next? Arugula that can send text messages? Cabbage that can curate Spotify playlists? But that's it. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Main Report. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to click the notification bell to know when we post. You're going to want to stay tuned to next week's episode to see if spinach does end up taking over the world. Bye, dragons.